to the lore, because that's a spoiler, but you don't know what's gonna happen. But I kind of do, I guess, which makes it interesting. Okay, wait. Chant a chant. Because that's good for. Because what we're gonna do, or trying to do, if we're getting back to D-pad, is we are going to do this. Just do it that way. Because that is pretty good. Fortitude and will. Let's just maybe. That's good. Okay. Abilities. Oh. Well. What's that? Master spells? Guess I don't have any. Weird how it deactivates after a save or a load, whatever. Seeing what he's all focusing on, because I have another save going on with the cipher I'm doing on Twitch, so I apologize. Okay. What are you doing in this one? Athletics and lore? No, athletics and mechanics, probably. So that makes sense, because you're in the back of the line. What's yours? Lore and athletics? Okay. Here we go. The squat, distended body of an elderly dwarf woman dangles from a thin, crooked bow that sags at the tug of her noose. The bloated purple flesh of her neck, worn away in patches like moth-eaten linen, bulges over the rope that suspends her, and her lifeless head lolls forward rigidly from one side to the other when a breeze shifts. You perceive a faint glow around her that casts no light on its surroundings, but there's a tepid warmth to it, and you feel somehow that you could reach out and touch it, not with your hands, but with some aspect of yourself that has no worldly dimension. Reach out for the woman. You take a deep breath, clearing your mind, focusing on your objective. As you exhale, you feel yourself spreading out toward the hanging woman, perceiving all that lies between you and her with new unfamiliar awareness. Once you have expanded enough to reach her, there is a sudden jolt to your mind, a ringing, electric surge of images and words and sounds. Involuntarily, you shut your eyes and feel yourself being pulled down to some deeper consciousness in a space occupied only by you and the hanging woman. And when you open them again, she is staring at you with eyes clouded in a milky fog. Her body still swaying in a wind you no longer feel from a tree that stands planted in a misty void. The woman gives a slow nod of her head, the rope creaking as she does so, and she smiles at you.
Have you come here for me, dear? Or have you gotten lost? Ah, it is both, I think. Yes?
Am I imagining this?
No, I think not. A pity that. It would be simpler. A mercy, even. To not have to wander anymore, no? Alas, we are here, you and I. Wherever here may be.
How are you able to speak to me?
Is that what we're doing? Perhaps it just seems that way. Perhaps it is the easiest way for your mind to make sense of it. I think it is a very good choice.
I need to understand that something has happened to me. She nods, a look of pity on her face as though consoling a child.
The world looks a little different than it used to, is that it? Feels like you're noticing things for the first time that have always been there.
She nods.
You have seen past the shroud. It only takes an instant. Your soul remembers, yes? Remembers how it sees when it leaves the body, like being reminded of a dream you had forgotten.
She nods again.
You are a watcher now,
Sorry.
and a watcher you will stay. What indeed? Long hours have many animancers spent studying such things. Not I. Not I. I'll tell you what I know, though, since fair is fair. And here we are, visiting, you and I, and it reminds me of better times. Souls pass on. Some say through Audra stones, which are the blood veins of the world. They leave the world for a time and are reborn into it, sometimes more than they were before, but usually less and seldom the same. For all souls there is a time where they do not live, yet have not passed on, and those souls roam the world, same as you or I, either living or lost. But no one sees them because they have forgotten how. A watcher sees, though, knows what to look for. And sometimes they know a person just by looking at them, know where they've been in ages past when their bodies were other bodies. See memories even their owner can't recall. A wonder to behold when all goes well, a wonder. Oh, nothing to be afraid of, I'm sure. It's just much to take in for some. Sometimes there's trouble sleeping or other difficulties.
She smiles at you reassuringly, fanning out a tuft of long whiskers that sprouts from one of her cheeks.
You should see old Meerwald. He could tell you much more than I. A watcher just like you. Helped many in his day. Took up in an old keep no one would claim. Not far, not far. Kadnua, beyond the Black Meadow. He will welcome the company. Did you now, dear? My, that would be something, wouldn't it? Could be luck, could certainly be. A storm can be a careless thing. Or maybe it got its hands around your soul but couldn't pick it up. A soul can be heavy if it stayed in one piece through its time. Strong souls, we call them in the trade. Cold, I mean. Called them. Those days are all behind me now. Oh, yes. Entropy. Rimagan's work. We know little of why or how. We lose pieces of ourselves when we die, and pick up pieces of others when we are born again. But less than what we lost. We tried to stop it with the animantic sciences, but with little success.
Rimergand is one of the Rimirgand is one of the gods in this game. He is famine, entropy, natural disasters, bad luck, the collapse of nations and empires. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the world. He is the god of destruction, the destruction of the takes the form of a massive shaggy auroch, which is kind of like a bull, kind of like a bison almost. And like if you get up close to this bull or auroch, you can see figures in it sometimes. And these are believed to be the souls of those who ventured too near to the beast, which is what Rimmergard is also known for, being his apparition. While Barath is another god who is Rimmergard's contemporary. Rimmergard is more associated with entropy or the collapse of systems over time, while Barath is viewed as having dominion over death's actual cycle. Rimmergard's worshippers who view the resurrections of souls as punishments instead of blessings.
A very small few resist Rimmergard's influence and stay together through some force of defiance, at least for a time. But they all succumb eventually, I think. Me? I'll bore you to tears, though. And here I thought you'd come to visit me in particular. Caldara de Baranzi, of the Valian Royal Academy of Animantic Sciences. Not the greatest of their number, but I came here all the same because this was where help was needed.
She laughs, a rasping, choked cackle, escaping between rows of buttery, yellow teeth, causing her body to bob up and down with each spasm. Seeing your blank expression, she catches herself.
Oh, come now. Such a question. As though the answer were plain as a rope tied for strangling. Allow an old dwarf her last bit of cheer. Well, I came where I was needed, didn't I? Offered my services to Lord Radric for a pittance. A humble pittance. I was to examine the Lord's wife, see why the gods have seen fit to poison her womb. Studied her for months, looked high and low for impurities, tested her valence, the permeability of her essence. Do you know what I found? Nothing at all. A healthy woman, head to toe, blessed with a beautiful soul. Such a sweet woman, too. Meek, but warm-hearted. A few months' time, and the lord of the house demanded answers. For a time, I told him what he wanted to hear. Oh, yes, my lord. She is riddled with imbalances. I must have time to cure her. As the birth drew near, he grew impatient, as lords do. And this is where I've ended up.
What's an animancer?
A student of the soul. Something so basic, yet so poorly understood. But so many breakthroughs have been made in my lifetime. Had been made. Had been. To hear the locals tell it, we're a gang of soul manglers that preys upon the weak-minded. And the worst of us are. But the best of us? The best? Inspirations, miracle workers. My parents were soul twins, miserable before they met, empty inside. It was an animancer who helped one find the other, turned their lives around. You wouldn't believe the stories. Amnesiacs helped to remember their lives. The suicidal brought back from the brink of oblivion. The elderly afforded extra moments to say their goodbyes. How soon we forget when we're afraid. It's a fascinating science. A fascinating time to be alive in a place like Deerwood that does not control the research, no? I love the Valian Republics for many things, but their recent caution will leave them behind, I fear. Of course, dear. Goodbye, my dear. It was lovely visiting.
Caldara closes her eyes, and her head slumps forward over the noose, and your surroundings seem to bleed into your vision from some unknown place of waiting. Pale iron saggers granted crucible of the soul. Aeolf looks at you with narrowed eyes. Are you alright? You seemed lost just now. His arched eyebrows recede into his hood. Well, that is interesting. He gives you a sly grin. I expect that explains how you survived a Biawak, In any case, I appreciate your honesty. Since we're traveling together, it's probably wise for us to share these things. Do you know anything about Watchers? Only that they're rare and that they seem to have unique insights into certain soul conditions, he coughs, as you just demonstrated. Let's continue on. So here we go. Some more stuff now. Visions and whispers. Awesome. Give me 1 second. Animancy and the soul's potential have been topics of interest for much of recorded history. The Adirian Empire strictly repressed soulcraft in its former colonies. Animancers also face a great deal of social judgment and scrutiny for the art's unpredictable and, when mishandled, disastrous results of experimentation. In 2729 AI, when a dear wooden government in the coterie of animancers opened the Brackenbury Sanitarium to pool resources and better understand maladies of the soul, the science of soulcraft made its longest strides towards legitimacy. The funding for animancy was hitherto provided by noble families seeking to improve their lot in the afterlife. While patronage of this sort afforded many strange, soul-enhancing devices, it didn't allow for the dissemination of findings to a greater population of the afflicted. Brackenbury remains the strongest endorsement for the art of animancy that any government has ever offered. In an environment where animancy is under fire as a dangerous menace, Brackenbury pushes to better regulate the art by taking ownership over its research. The benefits of the practice of animancy, at its best, however, are undeniable. Pioneering animancers were responsible for unlocking the mysteries of the Bershogwyn, mine-hunters of Air Glanfath, which led to the development of ciphers. They have been able to effect changes in unbalanced personalities, de-emphasizing some traits while enhancing others. They have treated a variety of mental illnesses with unprecedented success. They've been able to map out soul lineages, leading to a far greater understanding of the inner workings of the reincarnation cycle. And this, as its proponents say, is only the beginning. And that goes into, like, different fields of animancy, like phrenology, which is... which looks like about like almost like the early treatments for schizophrenia, which is like lobotomizing things, but this seems to be a little bit more sane. In speculating physicians mapped the ridges and contours of the head, attempting to place a soul age in disposition like the rings of a tree. Animancers ultimately determined that the shape of the head was not the most accurate measure of a spiritual essence, but agreed that it set the foundation for further study. Then there's trepanning, which basically lobotomy looks like. Sounds like. And then there's harmonic feedback therapy, which individuals with near-awakened souls often react to sounds that trigger latent memories. These are specific auditory cues that resonate in some way with the soul's experience. A familiar voice, piece of music, etc. So basically, it looks like... Basically, it's like trying to... Classical conditioning, it sounds like. How to remember... In the case of remembrances, early psychology almost... Magnetic field manipulation is another field of animancy in this game. The affinity of copper and nather to soul energy has been a topic of deep interest to those invested in treatment. Brackenbury Sanitarium has a long history of enlisting explorers and archaeologists to chart the locations of copper deposits. Yeah. The notion of magnetic field manipulation arose when an animancer theorized that the soul could be enhanced or perfected by exposing it to as much untapped subterranean copper as possible. Weeks later, the evening nurses, after their experiment at Brackenbury, swore that they witnessed the patient's spectral form strolling down the hallway wearing only a smile. Asked about the condition of the soul, the nurse admitted that he looked especially vibrant. Another school of animancy is tidal magnetism therapy. Inspired by the results of magnetic field manipulation, Brackenbury scholars explored harnessing the moon's gravity to drive away soul sickness. Since the pull of one of their moons, called Balafa, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'll look later, exerted a significant force in the ocean, patients were secured to stakes among tide pools after thorough lobotomizing and left for overnight observation. Scholars deemed the moons an effective if unreliable source of treatment. Spiritual prosthesis. Many of the Hollowborn, which is what's happening in this game, Hollowborn are the ones born without souls, basically. Infants who suffered the consequence of Widewind's legacy ended up at Brackenbury. Oh, this is when they tried to attach an animal soul into a child and everything. So, it didn't quite work out because they became wicks after a while. Okay. Immortality studies, sorry. Many methods were explored, but the results were often too gruesome to pursue more than once. Early designs involved mummifying terminally ill patients in wrappings of copper wire and Audra masks, effectively imprisoning the soul in the body. Neither living nor wholly dead, the patients exhibited dim awareness of their surroundings and were prone to violent outbursts. Driving a copper nail through the head or heart was a less than effective means of pinning the soul in place. Brackenbury's eccentric founder, who we'll meet later, Ethel Mora, was once the willing subject of a successful soul transplant. His essence and awareness currently reside in a statue on the asylum grounds. And that's about it for the schools of animancy. So we'll go talk to Eder real quick. The smell of pipe smoke, at once earthy and sweet, winds its way into your nostrils. Your eyes trace the smoke to its origin. We find a broad man with straw-colored hair leaning against the mossy rock wall, his pipe held to his lips with one meaty hand. He looks you directly in the eye, but the look is not aggressive. He regards you with a peculiar, I can't even say that, you know what I mean,
17
smirk.
and a half. Well, could be 18, depending on how you count the dwarf woman. The dwarf woman. You were trying to figure out whether to count her as a full person. I think you oughta. The people hanging from the tree. 18 of them. Well, last I counted, anyway.
Stop. Stop! Aloth frowns. Is that what you people do for fun around here?
Name's Adair. Though to the people around here, might as well be 19. Don't think I'd put you much higher than 22, 23 tops. You look like the sort that likes to get involved.
He looks at you a moment, his brow arched, his smirk broadens.
I was smoking over here, saw you staring at her. Twice I refilled my pipe. You never so much as blinked. Your mouth was so slack I took you for a Radric at first.
I think he was freaking out. I don't know, he just started barking his head off.
Careful, friend. Let's not use that word round here. Could be any number of Radric bootlickers within earshot. Ciphers, animancers, watchers. Same thing in the eyes of folks around here, Radric especially. They come through these parts all the time with their cures, preying on the desperate. None of them are who they claim to be. Of course, seeing you with that funny look, I'd be halfway inclined to believe you were having some kind of communion with that dwarf. Either case, maybe I'm not 19 after all. No offense. The town's had it in for me for a long time now. Only fellow who ever stuck up for me, well, he's number 18 up there. My headman on the farm. Used to be my captain during the war.
The Saints' War. Saints' War, only one in my lifetime. Fella decides he's the living incarnation of Aethys, overthrows Rayed Ceres, marches on Deerwood, so we gave him a Deerwooden hello. What's a Deerwooden hello?
We blew him up.
He smiles at this, but it is the smile of one recounting a joke for effect rather than enjoyment. God of rebirth and redemption. Formally, anyhow. Maybe they call him something different from where you're from. Got involved. Radric sent men down here the other day. He said they had it on good authority someone in town was working with Kolsk, plotting Radric's overthrow. Said if he didn't come forward right then and there, they'd hang every last one of us. No one was coming forward, so Swithin, that's my headman, he steps up and says it's him. They took him at his word. He sighs and shakes his head, his eyes fixed on the tree. Bound to happen sooner or later, if not for plotting against Radric, then for protecting me.
Picked the wrong god. That's what it comes down to. Used to be a lot of Aethys worshippers in Gilded Vale. That mess of rocks over there owns a temple to him, to give you some idea. Then one day, somebody named Widewind shows up on Deerwood's doorstep. Says he's the living flesh of Aethys. Got an army with him. Suddenly, Aethys isn't so popular in these parts. My brother Woden and me, neither of us believed it. No way was that Aethys. He enlisted, and then I did too. But, he didn't make it back. After the war, people took to punishing Aethys worshippers, accusing them of treason. Got real ugly, especially after the legacy started. Folks needed someone to blame. I was safe because I fought, but then this rumor starts that my brother, that he was on the wrong side. And I wasn't so safe anymore. Until my headman stepped in and said they'd have to hang him to get to me. Seems that's no longer a concern. Of course, the townies don't do the hanging these days, but when Radric's men come, they got no problem doing the pointing.
Alof glances at you and lowers his voice. You can see why I was eager to leave. Someone who got tired of all the hangings. He's on the run now, probably will be until they catch him. He gives a half smile, drinking mostly. Point of fact, I'm on my way out, just haven't figured out where I'm going yet. Not a whole lot of places here that don't think Widewind's legacy started with Widewind. Where are you headed? Some place called Cadnua. There's an old watcher there who might be able to help me.
I remember hearing something about that years ago. He tamed that place. People would seek him out for all kinds of things. Troubles of the soul, questions for the departed. Of course, that was back when you didn't have to say watcher with a hush on your breath. A man such as that, there'd be things I'd want to ask him. Don't know why I never thought of it before. Not sure how I feel about setting out with a stranger, and a strange one at that. But, truth be told, you might be the only one in town who wouldn't feel some relief seeing me swing from that tree.
There's a fine reason if I ever heard one.
All right, then. Guess I'll do some sightseeing. Long as you're not the one picking the sights.
That's Aethys real quick. Aethys, dawn, birth, spring, rebirth, and redemption. The Aegean name for the god of light and redemption. Aethys is often represented as a young man holding a candle and wearing a crown of shining silver, or as his messengers, the dawn stars. Excuse me. Aethys, putting it, influence over the sun and stars contributes to his overall air of grandeur and importance, putting Aethys at odds with the rest of the pantheon. While worship of Aethys is still popular in the Aegean Empire and Rayed Saris, the faith is outlawed or at least actively hated by a populace in most cities of Deerwood due to events of the Saints' War that culminated at Halgut Citadel. Though Aethys once communicated regularly with his faithful, he has not done so since the destruction of Saint Widwin at the Battle of Godhammer 15 years ago. And the backstory of the Widewin's legacy. Saint Widwin, aka Divine King Widwin, or the Martyr King, was a Vorlas, purple dye-producing plant farmer living in a remote part of the colony of Rayed Saris. According to legends, one night spiritual manifestations of Aethys, the Dawn Stars, appeared to the young farmer and told him to punish the Aedirn governor for leading the people to ruin. Widwin went to his village and told people what he had seen and heard. Initially ignored and later attacked for his beliefs, Widwin began manifesting miraculous powers. This drew devoted believers from all over his county, and eventually fomented a popular revolt. Widwin, assisted by some knights and nobles who believed in his cause, eventually marched on the capital city and confronted the imperial governor. The governor was not killed, but was forced to abdicate power and leave the colony. Upon entering the seat of imperial power, Widwin's body physically transformed into something otherworldly. According to most records from the era, his flesh appeared to become luminescent and his head completely transformed into pure, sometimes literally blinding light. Stories say that people asked Widwin to lead the colony and that he accepted, becoming the first and only divine king of Rayed Saris. As king, his rule was virtually uncontested. He immediately punished allies of the empire and what he believed were corrupt churches and church leaders of Aethys. It was not long before worshippers of Aethys were punished for perceptions of heresy, and non-worshippers were punished for following other faiths. When Rayed Saran citizens fled to Deerwood for sanctuary, it caused strife between the two nations that eventually led to the Saints' War. During the conflict, Widwin personally led many battles and exhibited extraordinary supernatural powers. Accounts describe him as being virtually untouchable and rumored that he was indestructible, possibly a full manifestation of Aethys' power in the world. He was able to burn or even fully disintegrate enemies with beams of pure light. It was not until the Battle of Halgut Citadel that he was significantly wounded. On that occasion, he was more than wounded. He was fully destroyed. The Deerwoodans had constructed and placed a massive bomb inside the stonework of an ancient bridge, Avon Deerwar Bridge, leading to the Citadel gates. They also warned and swore to the Rayed Sarans that Widwin could never cross the bridge, trusting that his ultimate confidence would lead him directly over it. This was exactly what happened, and the resulting explosion apparently destroyed Widwin, half a regiment of Rayed Saran knights, and about a dozen Deerwoodans who sacrificed themselves to stall the saints on the bridge. The Dawn Stars are... oh, that's what happened. That's the Saints' War in a nutshell. Aethys has a final, more intimidating aspect in the form of Gaun, Gaun, a farmer depicted as carrying a lantern and sickle. Gaun is a figure of dignified cyclical death as opposed to Rimmergarn's entropic variety or Barris cold inevitability. The night market is a secret society of extraordinarily devoted Eothesians who operate in Deerwood. In addition to ministering to the needs of ordinary Eothesians who cannot worship publicly, the night market attempts to track and fight against any dark forces that would threaten Deerwood. Their hope is that they can mend the relationship between Deerwardens and Eothis by performing heroic, patriotic acts for the benefit of all residents of Deerwood. However, some members of the night market wish to transform the purpose of the group into something quite different, an anti-Deerwood organization seeking revenge for the Battle of Halgut Citadel. Bah. See what you got. Shoot. I want to see what you got first. Okay. What you got? Athletics for sure. Survival, yeah. Oh, sorry. Guardian stance. The fighter devotes all his or her energy to defending allies, lowers accuracy but increases the deflection of nearby allies. Discipline barrage. The fighter intensely focuses on his or her training, significantly raising accuracy for a short amount of time. Confident aim. Steadies the fighter's arm, causing a percentage of their grazes to be converted to hits and increasing the minimum damage for melee weapons. That's cool. That's nice. Defender. The fighter adopts a more conservative combat strategy, concentrating on locking down enemies that stray too close. The fighter increases his or her number of engagement targets to 3, but at the expense of deflection. I'm a chanter. The confident aim or defender is definitely what is a modal. That is cool. I'm not ready quite yet for defender, I guess, but we'll just make some potions, I guess, right? Alright, we gotta... Hold ground. The fighter uses vigorous defense when engaged by more than 2 opponents. He uses unbending when below 50% endurance if Perest is enabled. Defender is enabled by default, and if disabled will be re-enabled at the start of the next combat. The character will actively seek out nearby enemies for combat, regardless of whether or not they are being directly attacked. What spells he got? That's having damage. Okay. Oh wait, yeah, that makes sense. Nope. We can use your spells when I want you to. Can we craft? I don't know if we can craft anything. Are you good at perception? Perception. Both, yeah, not good. Puppy. We can sell some things, looks like, almost. Plus 35 endurance over 12 seconds. Awesome. Examine. Oh, amethyst, oh, that's cool. Anything? Nothing. Just getting ready to go out to Magrin's Fork. Is that how you pronounce it? Magrin. Oh, these gold-plated guys. If you want to, I can read them. I'm just gonna do a couple things first before we do miscellaneous things. Kind of breaking the two, I guess. Actual quest versus.
Laying low.
Lore stuff. This man and woman appeared to have been deep in conversation, working at closing two bulging satchels. They moved to embrace until the woman noticed your approach and pauses, her smile faltering a little.
Hail, traveler.
Can we help you? She looks to her companion, brows furrowing with confusion. Do you know this woman, Naughton? Naughton coughs. Yes, I think we met in the Vale Wood. I wonder about the bear. He inclines his head. Glad to see you made it. Was there something else you wanted? You two are in good spirits for people who just lost a friend? Ingrid, that's unkind of you to say. I'm grieving my husband in my fashion. I'm only sorry I could not convince him to leave Gilded Vale before this happened. I'm relieved to be rid of this terrible place. That's all. It cost me the greatest part of my life, and now my husband. I'm glad to be free of it. Okay. Yes, I imagine so, Ingrid laughs. We're packing for a trip, actually. I've been meaning to visit Defiance Bay, and she looks at Naughton. Well, in truth, I think I've had my fill of this town. It's time for some new scenery, he says. Huh. Only that you want to be moving on as soon as you can. You have seen the tree, I imagine, but the rot goes deeper. If you were looking for work, I'd say you have a better chance of it elsewhere. So I can't really do anything that I was planning on yet. Black Hammer Smithery. An account. I can't pronounce that. Sales. The page is nearly empty. Tuatanu. Oh, okay. This Amawa man is of an impressive build, towering above the countertop. His skin is a dusky blue of the deeper oceans, and his thick arms boast corded muscle. Small ears frame a square-jawed face coated in smeared soot and arcing black tattoos alike. He offers you a broad smile as you approach. Welcome, you're the first new face I've seen in quite some time. What can I do for you? Is this your shop? That it is. Been here near on 20 years now. Seen all manner of things over the years, good luck and bad. Tuatanu glanced at the guard standing watch along the wall, but the Black Hammer Smithy remains. What do you have here? You come to us at a strange time, I'm afraid. The stock's not what it used to be, but we've fine weapons and armor to offer yet. All forged right here at the Black Hammer. What happened? We just don't have the supplies. Been expecting the next delivery for over a week now, and haven't seen a sign of it. Have to expect they were hit by bandits. The road out east is crawling with them. Or my workers ran off with the wagon themselves, maybe, to make some coin. Tuatanu snorts. All as that lot would dare. Aloth. He's right about the bandits. The dire situation in villages like this in the exodus to cities has created far too many opportunities for unscrupulous sorts. Tuatanu scratches his jaw, thinking, if you happen to be headed that way, maybe we could keep an eye out for the supply wagon, or my shipment at least. They'd be cutting through the Black Meadow, I expect. Only good road for it. As it is, most of our weapons go to His Grace Lord Raedric. Tuatanu glances at the nearby guard, and that's as it should be. But it doesn't leave much for outsiders. We just don't have the iron. I'll see them back safe and sound. I appreciate you trying. You're trying anyhow. You bring back the supplies at least, and I will have much more to offer you. A discount to start, and if you do find my workers, you give them a good smack upside the head from me.
Gods keep you.
Good to see you again. Afraid we're still running low on goods, but you're welcome to look at what we have. Yep, of course. You won't find you won't find finer anywhere else. So let's do this here. Let's see. Type. I'm gonna sell all the doubles we have, honestly. These are torches, okay. That's simple clothing. You need nothing that doesn't give any damage reduction on it. I changed. Yeah, I'll change the difficulty too. I forgot about that. Totally forgot. Examine paladin on here. Give me 1 second, I forgot. I put difficulty. Oops, there we go. and not yet visited. Okay, that works.
Good day, stranger.
And I just need two camping supplies, please. A dear wooden woman is standing in front of the fireplace, humming a quiet tune to herself, or perhaps to her unborn child, for she is clearly quite pregnant. She turns her head slightly as you enter.
Good day to you.
Well, finally, I was starting to think the woman makes a startled noise when she turns and sees you. Oh, I'm sorry, I was expecting someone else. She gives you a cautious smile. Can I help you? Who are you expecting? My sister, Kalisha, is traveling with one of the caravans. She sent a letter before she came. She said she was going to pay her way by working as a guard for the caravan master. She always was a tough one. She pauses. I don't suppose you've seen her on the road, or the caravan perhaps. It's Master Dama's. The caravan was attacked and we escaped, but Kalisha was caught in a bee walk. Offer covers her mouth with a hand, eyes wide with horror. For a few moments she managed nothing but a strangled, voiceless gasping, her eyes brimming with tears. I told her it was a dangerous path to take. Kalisha was always so certain she could take on any danger. Offer sniffs. Oh, my poor sister. I'm sorry, stranger. I can't believe she's gone. If only I hadn't called her here. If I hadn't written to her, she might still be alive somewhere. Offer's face crumples, and a solitary tear slides down her cheek. Kalisha mentioned that she thought you needed help. Perhaps I can provide some assistance. Offer looks at you with some surprise before dabbing at her nose with the sleeve. That's kind of you to offer, but I don't know if I could impose this on you. It's not a small favor. Offer wipes her eyes. I'm worried about the baby, about the legacy. I told Kalisha as much as I could, but all I knew is that for a long time now, every child born in Gilded Vale has been soulless, empty. It's happened to so many mothers, and Lord Radric, he's exiled all of them, calling it a sign of the gods' disfavor. She sniffs. With my Hathort gone, I don't know how I'd manage if I lost my home too. I hoped Kalisha could help me. They say Ranga, or whatever, the old midwife, knows a way to prevent a child being hollowborn, but she moved south to Angslog's compass 2 seasons ago. The journey's too far for me. I can't make it as I am, but I don't have anyone else now with Kalisha gone. More tears run down her face. Please, can you help me? I'll find Ranga for you. Offer blinks eyes wide. You will? Oh, gods bless you. Here, I'll give you coin to pay her with. You needn't trouble yourself with that. I think it's a drink she fashions out of, well, I'm not sure, but it shouldn't be too much of a burden to carry back. Go to Vale, slight positive. Anslog's compass is what we call the lagoon to the south. You have to cross the wilds to get there. That's what keeps me from trying it myself. She clasps her hands together. Thank you again, truly. You'll be saving us both. She sets her hand on her stomach, smiling through her tears. Save. Now we're gonna do the gold-plated names here as much as we can. Selnia Vertivo. You see a woman emptying her satchel under her bed, taking stock of her. I may have already done this. I believe I've already done this one. I do believe I've done these. We'll do the ones outside then real quick. I'm sorry. Vale of Lion. You see a pennant waving tall and sluggish in the wind, a rising sun embroidered on the banner, the vanguard of a small troop of paladins. The atmosphere is buoyant, if restrained, and their armor has not yet been tarnished by the elements. This expedition is fresh, young, filled with zest and zeal. At their head stands a commander, awkward in full armor but determined in step. Despite the excitement of his fellows, he does not smile. There's a twist to his mouth, his countenance grim. He throws up a hand, hailing his troop, halting his troop. Silence falls among them, revealing a dark thunder, deep and low. He orders them to ready their weapons and spread out. Eyes dart from horizon to horizon, necks twisting to see the source of the sound. In the distance, dust and lightning rise from the ground as Stygian clouds race towards them overhead. Soldiers stand, only the staccato movement of their breath betraying their nerves. The commander closes his eyes, calling a blessing down on his troop. Invigorated, invincible, they wait as the enemy draws closer, poised to attack. Thorin Chamberlain. You see a large crowd gathered in the middle of a courtyard. This man stands in the midst of them, a cloak pulled over his head, holding its clothes around his neck. The crowd is congregated around the platform, and they all watch, transfixed as a man is led to the platform, flanked by 2 city guardsmen. The man is shackled hand and foot, but carries himself as a nobleman, not deigning to even glance at the crowd. The cloaked man pulls his cover closer around his face and turns to leave, hunching over to avoid being seen. A crier on the platform unrolls a parchment and begins to read. but the man pays no attention, intent on getting away from the courtyard. The crier's voice grows louder and more intense as he reads and voice from the crowd start to punctuate his sentences. The jeers and shouts grow more frequent, and with each one, the cloaked man flinches and his shoulders droop. He breaks from the crowd, coming to the edge of the courtyard as the crier reaches the end of his proclamation. The crowd grows silent again, save for the occasional shout. The man turns back to look at the platform, seeing his father kneeling before the block, neck exposed. The executioner moves into composure and then straightens. Rudolfir Negatore. You see a pair of immaculately polished leather boots, an impeccably maintained goatee, their owner a slightly hook-nosed man with a wicked grin and narrow eyes. He bobs his feathered hat at a nearby merchant as he ambles by, a small piece of parchment held tight in his fist, ink staining his fair fingers. He seems to know most of the merchants in the market, stopping to engage some, nodding at others, and even bartering for minor goods with a select few, always smiling, laughing and exchanging jibes. He approaches a heavy-set Amawa, smile placid and stiff across his face, and jokes about the weather. She jokes back, steadily palming him several gold coins. When he walks by, the paper in his hand is gone, and the smile on his face far more genuine. He tips his cap at her, winking, and trundles off with a new spring in his step. Ronin Turonian. You see a group of people standing on a wagon, transfixed on a sword as it swings in a large, graceful arc. This man holds the sword, passing it from hand to hand with a relaxed ease, making the blade dance in front of his audience. He tosses it in the air, spins, and puts his arm behind his back to catch it. The crowd claps excitedly, and as a couple of them gasp, certain they are about to see a tragedy. Here you go. You see a room bright, warm, and covered in greenery. There isn't a spot in the entire space that doesn't have some kind of plant growing in it. Small germinating seeds in the corner here, large, sprawling vines climbing the walls there. Although most of the plants are actually in some kind of container, there are a few that have grown from the dirt floor itself. These are just as lovingly cared for as anything else in the room. This man wanders through the plants, smiling at each and every one, an old pipe clenched between his teeth, stopping next to one. He touches a leaf, lifting it up to look at the underside, then gently rubs it between his fingers. He takes a small handful of the soil it grows in and crushes it with his fingers. Satisfied, he drops the soil back into the pot and continues to the next plant. He hums a low, cheery tune as he moves among the plants, occasionally stopping to sing a few words of something to one of them. Finally, he reaches the door, having visited every plant in the room. He turns back to look at them, a look of serene pleasure on his face, then he turns back and is gone. Magnus Fork. Magnus Fork. I'm gonna save here and just make sure. Thanks for watching.